Hello everyone, and welcome to my review of Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 116. So, before last week's break, we got sort of the fight between Sukuna and Jogo, and with the way it ended, you had Sukuna pulling out fire and basically challenging Jogo to see whose firepower was stronger. And with this chapter, we got the conclusion of that fight. And let me start off by saying that the art for the first, I would say, like 5 pages of this chapter is insane. It's an unbelievable step up from like the rest of the series, and the rest of the series looked great already. I have to assume that Gege must have spent like the week-long break just doing those few double-page spreads because they look amazing. I mean, the shading and everything, it looks unbelievably good. Um, and of course, we don't actually see it because the trouncing is so great. But Sukuna does kill uh, Jogo, which is the death of the last of the main cursed spirits that we were introduced to at the very start of the series. And by the very start, I mean chapter 10-ish, when Imposter Ghetto and the special grades all went to like that restaurant. So this is pretty important, and we get a interaction between Jogo and Hanami and Dagon, where they're talking about like their regrets, but how Hanami looks forward to meeting them when they're reborn, and that he shouldn't worry because Mahito is someone that they treated essentially as a leader, which was sort of the vibe that I got from Mahito when he was first introduced. Um, when the arc with Nanami started, and we met Mahito hanging out in, I think, the sewers, he definitely gave me like boss vibes, even though he had already met Ghetto. It sort of he sort of felt like he was going to be the main antagonist of the series to me, even though he's clearly not. They have him sort of as the leader of the cursed spirits, which really makes sense when you consider that the cursed spirits, specifically Jogo, had wanted to replace the humans and they thought they were the real humans. And the fact that Mahito is the cursed spirit of humans sort of fulfills that role perfectly. And Hanami, I think it's Hanami even talking about how Mahito is perfect for that role, essentially. And before he finally, I guess, drifts off to the other side or whatever, Sukuna actually talks to Jogo and basically tells him to be strong because he was one of the strongest people he had ever fought. And I just thought that interaction was very interesting. We've gotten a lot of insight into Sukuna's character in the last couple chapters, and I thought that was probably some of the best of it. Now, the other really, really important thing that happened this chapter is the return of that girl with white hair, or I think she was a girl, or they, and apparently her name is Urayume, and Sukuna knows her, and I believe she calls him Master Sukuna, yeah. So apparently this person, in some form or another, has been around for a very, very long time, at least 1,000 years, as Sukuna has been around that long. Or I believe that was when he had his power divided up into the fingers. So we haven't seen Urayume since, I believe, after when Yuji and Nanami fought Mahito together. So we haven't seen her in an extremely long time. A lot of people, I had honestly kind of forgotten about her, and I had seen people on Twitter who were rebuking the idea that the Shibuya incident was like the end of the series, which I don't really get that vibe from for this. There's a lot of stuff that they're very clearly hinting at, and the fact that Sukuna hasn't gotten all of his fingers back. And Urayume, having not appeared in a super long time, is one of those things. Now, what's the deal with Urayume? I have seen some theories that they're like the cursed spirit of the sky or wind or storms, because you had that for the earth and forests and the ocean and humans. So having like the fourth, or I guess she would supposed to be the fourth element in this thing, I guess, and Mahito would be the fifth, if we're going by the logic of the fifth element. So Urayume is, if they're not a human sorcerer, they're presumably a special grade cursed spirit, though that kind of goes for like any named character in this, basically. I don't think we've ever gotten a named cursed spirit that's not a special grade. That's probably something that has to do with being a special grade. So I assume that we're going to see where that goes next chapter. The last thing we see at the very end of the chapter is Hand Guy and Megumi, and Megumi is in really bad shape and is apparently unconscious. So since they put that at the very end of the chapter, I assume that next week we're probably going to see what's up with Megumi, especially since Sukuna no longer has to deal with the other special grades, or, well, no, because now he has to deal with Urayume, so that may actually be a big diversion in his plan to fight Megumi again. But considering they just sort of added this in at the very end without addressing it at all earlier on in the chapter, it's probably safe to assume that we're going to be going back to what Megumi's doing next week. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I do Jujutsu Kaisen reviews every week, and if you enjoy talking to other people about Jujutsu Kaisen, I recently set up a Discord server, and you can talk about Jujutsu Kaisen with other people on there. You can also discuss the other series that I cover on this channel, those being Record of Ragnarok, Chainsaw Man, Kengan Omega, and Bleach. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, check out my Discord server, and check out my channel for my videos on those. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.